Yeah, and join one of the groups. Soka, you ready? How many more? You running the ad? Okay, so I wanted to make the most of our two friends here who've got a wealth of experience before they have to leave. They very kindly stayed on a little longer. I'm so sorry the programs got all mixed up, but there you go, we're amateurs. Don't vote for me. I mean, vote for me, vote for me. I'm getting confused. I'm split. So we're going to do a Q&A and then go into a quick brainstorming of a topic. Because basically, one of the things we all do, we're armchair critics, but if we have to be practical and come up with a solution quickly, how do we do that? And how do we do it in a democratic way, effectively? So we're actually going to practice this. Because if we're telling other people how to do it, we've got to actually know how it feels as individuals. So each of the groups will then select a speaker, and the speaker will just stand up and present the findings of the group based on the topic you've been debating. Yeah? So let's start with questions, and we'll take the topics from the questions. Shall we do it that way? Does anybody have a question for Sashi or Asoka? Or any other question that's come up, and we'll see if we can answer the question amongst ourselves. Any question at all that's come up? We had a bunch of comments up there. Can you start trolling through the comments and see if there's anything related to Asoka or Sashi's presentation?
I had a question for
Shehan, can you help out? Am I? Yeah.
Actually, I had a question, and I kind of put my hand up back then, but you answered it then. My question would have been, do you get credit? Are you credited for the information that goes out there? And if not, why not? And the suggestion being that wouldn't a lot of the information that we see in the media be much more credible if indeed you did get the credit?
So I think one thing I should say is that I shouldn't overemphasize how much work we do. I mean, it's not like every other person is using our data. But that said, I mean, now yesterday on a very, very popular political talk show, they did credit us for the data. So I mean, it's also a case that some people are understandably a little sort of wary about citing a website without knowing whether it's actually got some sinister political motive or something like that. So it takes a little bit of time to build trust as well. So hopefully we're making some headway there.
Because it would be good for all of us to know that there is one site we can go to and know that it is real information from real sources based on what is actually said in Parliament. So, you know, how much more
Precisely.
real can it get?
I mean, all in all, apart from like we write columns on a fortnightly basis in the Sinhala and English press, but other than that, we are just literally reclassifying public data and nothing more.
Thank you. Yes, mic over here. The mic. Here's the mic. Here's the mic.
Yeah, going back to the question that I asked earlier.
Closer, just a little closer.
Going back to the question I asked earlier, there's a great danger that in this particular election, the parliament might be a hung parliament. And that will lead to a government that cannot be productive in any way. How is that a possible strategy to make sure that whoever comes to power is not going to be, you know, this sort of contentious government where no one lets anybody else do any work?
Yeah, I think without making it sort of too party political, but I've got a feeling that
No politics, no politics.
Yes, absolutely.
Vote for me, vote for me.
Yeah. But I mean, the way in which the 19th Amendment has been framed means that this idea of national government is sort of recognized in a way in which it hasn't really been in the past. So irrespective of the fact that one party, or at least one of the two big coalitions, don't get a majority, the fact that there will be a national government which almost, I'm not saying this is an ideal thing at all, but it almost legitimizes people all coming together, which obviously in the past has been looked at in a very dubious way. This idea that it's going to be a minority government which is not going to be able to get anything done, there are question marks about that. But thinking about the sort of work that I do, the one thing that I'm going to have to do is that now, even for the last manifesto from the January 8th manifesto, which we've been sort of going through now, the 100-day government manifesto, we developed something called the Maitri meter. So it scores and if ever you all went to mantri.lk, you all will find it at the top there. And it scores the progress on all of the different manifesto pledges. So similarly, in the new for whoever forms the new government, we'll have to use their present manifesto and somehow devise something which will also assess their progress in delivering their manifestos.
Just to add to that, generally when it comes to parliamentary elections and local governance elections, there is this whole, it's okay, thank you. There is this whole problem of people feeling they're not like turning up to vote. But of course, in the presidential election, we saw people coming out in numbers. And I think that's the same motivation that is required on the 17th, because the job wasn't completed then. Yes, we made certain changes, things some say turned out to the better, but I think this is where it's really going to matter. These 225 people are going to be in charge of policy, economy, rule of law, and you know, all of these things that matter to us, and all of these things that are going to affect our lives so directly. So it is really, really important that, I mean, as a group here also, that we go out there and talk about how it's really important that everyone goes out early morning and cast their vote, because we need that. I think if you have that whole 80%, I doubt it'll happen, but if you have that whole drive of people coming out and voting, maybe we might be able to avoid this hung parliament situation and have a clear majority when it comes to a party. Irrespective of the party, it's what we need is a strong government. Hopefully a strong government with good people, but a strong government nonetheless. So go out and vote.
Any other questions? Yeah? Can we have the floating mics moving, please? Please, can you take the mics around, Tisha and Ash? Just look for people who... Thank you. Not working? Try the other mic.
Okay, so I'm not sure who it's actually applicable to, but I was wondering about when we vote this time, we will vote for a party and then 3 preferential candidates, right? But I can also not vote for preferential candidates and just the party. So what does my vote mean then? Like, who gets that vote? Who will fill that seat in parliament or whatever? That's one thing, but also I was thinking maybe we could also talk about something the gentleman from PAFRL mentioned about how this election we should vote for people who can actually make policy and legislative changes and not necessarily only for people who are at your funeral and giving you things. And so how is it that we can actually identify people who will be able to make this kind of policy or legislative changes that's much needed in the country?
Okay. On the first point, this is something which lots of people are asking at the moment, because really speaking, if you had one particular member of parliament, one particular candidate who you were really, really keen on, and this is not quite answering your question, but I'll come to it. If you had one member of parliament that you're really, really keen on, arguably just using your one manapa, right, just using the one preference vote on for that particular person is arguably in their best interest, because by exercising all 3 of your preferences, you are also arguably assisting the people who are up against the person that you have the strongest preference for. So that's just something to bear in mind. I'm not saying that you should all think strategically like that, but it is what, if you spoke to the MP that you really badly wanted to vote for, that is what they would tell you privately. There are, however, people who just say, I'll just vote for the party and I won't give any preference votes. And the way that would work is that then when all of those party votes are tabulated across the entire district, you'll know exactly what percentage of votes that particular party, there's a sort of a system by which all of these the allocations occur, but it ends up being favorable to the party, all in all. And the other thing is it also contributes towards the nationalist allocations as well. So voting for a party and not giving a preference vote is still a useful vote. And sorry, there was a second question as well, right?
Second question about, I think, making sure that you're voting for people who are not like coming to your funerals and weddings and so on, but making policy. Well, I think one thing is monthly.ri, okay? That's one tool you have to actually go and get the information, analyze. Try to get these people's manifestos. Most of the manifestos were analyzed in newspapers, but some of the major candidates have their own manifestos. So look at what their policies are, what they are actually pushing towards. However, this might be, this kind of attitude might actually be a bit Colombo-centric, and if you go to the rural areas, this won't actually happen. I mean, I don't know how much you get traffic from other parts of the country, but what PAFRL, and they have the March 12th declaration, what they have actually done is go to these areas and spoken about all of these things. So PAFRL has this scorecard, which I think is available here in your dockets, where they've given it to people and look here, look at these things, score, okay, you have 3 people in your mind, score them along these lines and, just see where they stand. And if they don't match up, maybe you need to start thinking about 3 other candidates. So these are some of the messages we've tried to actually take to the ground level, and hopefully it works, because people really, really need to understand that this is about not the most popular cricketer coming in or the prettiest actress coming in. It's really about policy, and not also about a single person trying to come to a certain position or not. It's about 225 people who is going to govern the country. That is what the campaign should be about. That's what the election is about. So that has to be the priority, and we need to make sure we make that our priority when deciding on who to vote for.
Shall we go into the brainstorming? But just before you do, the important segment is where you vote for me and you follow me. So everybody got a voting card, a voting slip? Has everybody got a voting slip? No? Are there any, can we get the voting slips? Shah, the voting slips? No? Everybody's been handed out yeah, some people haven't got them. Sorry? Oh, everybody voted. Oh, fantastic. Gosh. No, somebody hasn't voted. Who has not voted? You need a slip? Yeah? So can you get the slips to these people? Can we get the process underway? So basically, it seems a bit of a silly game, but I just wanted to emphasize this point that we talk about it, and we're actually going to do it. Have you all got your slips?
Yeah.
You voted? Yeah. Very good. So even though I represent all of you, I didn't know that the vote had already happened. That's how informed I am. So, who has not? Yeah? Right, so we will. Acha, don't tell everybody what we're doing now, please. So, I'd like to ask these two couple of questions before we listen to a very talented young group of men, and then we will announce the results of my party win. I mean, my, you know what I mean. So, I first want to talk about corruption. Now, I'm not an academic, I'm an architect, and I think a lot of people know the issues and are concerned about the issues, certainly this kind of group. And I think we all know people who live all over the country that are concerned about the issues. There was a poll done recently by the Center for Policy Alternatives, and I think corruption was number 2 as the most. Yeah. So could you say a bit about that first? And the second part of my question is, beyond what's already being done, what can these people do? What can the average voter do with regard to corruption, fighting corruption, changing the way this country is vis-a-vis corruption?
Yeah, so I think, corruption was the second priority issue according to the CPA survey. And I think that's also just spinning off from the presidential election, where corruption, for the first time, I think, was the major issue that, that was used for campaigning purposes. During the presidential election, corruption was the main issue. And as we know, UNP and JVP and all of these people that backed behind okay, sorry, I forgot. No, so basically it was corruption, against corruption and versus whatever campaign that came about during the presidential election. And I think most of the political parties want corruption to still be the agenda for their political purposes also. But of course, it is still a major issue because even after the presidential election, there was a lot of allegations floating around about corrupt deals and financial fraud and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, most of these allegations haven't really materialized or haven't come to the courts, and we haven't seen convictions and people going to jail because of it. So I think for the people, there is a need to see this happening. And they're also wondering why it didn't actually happen during the 100 days, whether it can happen after this election. And because you have all of these individuals, these alleged perpetrators also contesting. So that this at the back of your mind, it is always there, will this trend continue or can we actually do anything about it? So I think that's why for the people, it's still number one, in my opinion, I think it's still the number one issue. And of course, since we have, and corruption, of course, has its impacts on development and all the other related issues. So I think tackling corruption is the priority at this stage. And also, I think it's also very closely linked to rule of law and impunity and holding people accountable. So because you have all these corrupt deals, like I said, nobody went to jail, nobody was held accountable, nobody lost their jobs because of it. And is that the trend that it's going to continue? So yeah, corruption is a problem. And I'm sorry, I forgot the second question.
Yeah, and on the second point, very, very briefly, I mean, what can someone do regarding corruption? I mean, obviously, there's the very easy answer of obviously not indulging in it yourself. But on a more important note, I think it's also important that people have an understanding of what's also possible, what's already, what can happen even within the legal framework as it is right now. So one thing that I was speaking to a few people about a few minutes ago was this idea that everyone here can request the declaration of assets and liabilities of their members of parliament. So I mean, if you're really that keen to sort of make an informed choice, maybe that's what you need to do. It costs you 750 rupees. I'll tell you the exact process. So let's say if it's a backbench MP, you write a letter to the Speaker of Parliament, you send a copy to the Secretary General of Parliament, and you and you include a check for 750 rupees made out in the name of the Secretary General of Parliament. Similarly, if it's for a cabinet minister, you do the same thing, and you make a check payable to the secretary to the president, and you address your request to the president, and then you can get your asset declaration of a cabinet minister. And I know it works because I've done this. I've gone through this process, and within 2 weeks, I've got it. I've got exactly what I've requested through the post. So if you want to improve the choice that you make, that is what you'll have to do. The issue is, as we've discussed, that you can't share that information. But the thing is, the more people who know about it, the more it will become absolutely ridiculous that you can't share the information. Because I mean, the problem is that there's only a handful of people who know about the ability to do this. And with more and more people requesting and knowing about it, it will become ever more nonsense, the fact that you can't share the information that you're all publicly entitled to. So the key thing is that you tell everyone that this exists, and the fact that this system exists and that it can be done. And that is the only way that this information can go out there, and hopefully TI can take a leading role in pushing that message out there.
Of course. No, I also just want to add, okay, so the election is happening on the 17th, and we have this great responsibility of electing the right people. But I just want to also emphasize, it doesn't really stop there. There's so many things that will happen afterwards, and I think it's really time for all of us to join hands with all of these really great civil society organizations that do a good job. I know people have their concerns about NGOs and like-minded organizations, but there are the ones that are actually doing a genuine job, and they have the opportunity of contributing towards policy. And I think it's really important that everybody just kind of gets involved, and things about like right to information. We need a stronger bribery act, because currently our bribery act only addresses bribery given to a public official or received by a public official. There are so many things in our bribery act which is actually missing, and we need to strengthen these things. We need to basically lobby for the commissions. I mean, it's all there in the 19th Amendment, but these commissions were never formed. So there is so many things that we need to follow up on, get things done, hold people accountable. I mean, if you have access to the people you're going to vote for, I'm telling you, like, bug them until they actually go out there and represent you. Like, we need to actually get them to represent us, because it's not about us voting for them and then, for the next 5 years, they get fat and, earn money.
Yeah,
it's
that's right.
not about that. It's
That's
about
right.
them actually representing us.
Sashi, I'm going to have to cut you short. Yeah. Can we just put a couple of topics to you? So we've got 2 or 3 topics. And the basic idea is you're going to brainstorm these for 5 or 10 minutes, no more. Select a speaker from your group, and then that speaker will stand up and present the findings of your group. So I've just taken these out of everything that's come through today, trying not to be biased, but I hope you followed me. I hope you all followed me, because there's lots of positions that I can give you all in the future. So the first one is, what can I do as an individual voter? That's the first topic, yeah? So which group likes that? I'll read them all out, and then you can choose which ones you want, yeah? So no one appeals to me, no candidate appeals to me, to my knowledge. What do I do with my vote? Yeah? If you'd like to write these down feel free to write them down. And then lastly, this is one I'm curious about. What are the 3 or 5 values that you look for in a candidate? So I'll just repeat that. What can I do as an individual voter? No one appeals to me, to my knowledge. What do I do with my vote? And what are the 3 or 5 values that I look for in a candidate? Yes? So if you want to take just one of those, or all 3 of them, feel free to do whichever you want. You hand out we've got an ancient technique that's used by the Native American Indians where they used to pass a pipe. And the person holding the pipe was the only person that could speak at that moment in time. So we've got some very beautiful yellow things here. And so please try and get into the spirit of this so that you don't cut into each other. Yes, every person that's holding the horn is speaking at that time. Yeah? Do you want me to repeat the topics again, or were the topics clear? Yeah? So shall we say about just 10 minutes? Then we'll have a summing up. Yes, is that okay with everybody? Everybody clear on what we're doing? So take a topic or 1 or 3 topics, brainstorm it, and your group has to come up with its own findings, its own feedback, its own learnings. Thank you. So unfortunately, Sashi has to leave for another appointment. So can we please say a big thank you, everybody, to Sashi Demel. Thank you, Sashi. Asoka is going to stay back with us. one or two numbers? How long is it? Okay, so can I invite the speakers of your groups? Speakers of the groups, can you come up here? Speakers of the groups, yeah? Please come up onto the stage. Group speakers. Not ready? Do you need a few more minutes? A few more minutes? Yeah? A few more minutes? 2 minutes more? Yeah? Or come up. You can start coming up. If the group speakers have come up, are ready, please come up. We have one group speaker here. We have one. How many groups we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 group speakers. We need one group speaker. Please come up. And the last group speaker, he's on the phone. He's a typical politician, no? He's always on the phone. You follow me, no? You follow me? My party is the Follow Me party. You young lady, with a beautiful hairstyle. You'll follow me, no? You'll vote for me, no? Yes, you'll vote for me. Ayyo. Right. Team green, team yellow, are all the votes counted? Did we stuff the box? You made sure I won? Okay. We're ready to announce the results. Is it on the table? You got tabulated? Fantastic. So we'll do this. Can I have the... Did they vote? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try and break an old Sri Lankan tradition. We're going to try and finish on time. So can I invite the speakers of each group to come up? Doesn't matter if you haven't finished. It's just an exercise, so please come up because we have very little time now. So please come up, speakers of each group. And I don't want to get too dictatorial now. I have to show my true colors. So each group, please send up their representative. Yes, bring your horn, Macha, bring your horn. So group 1 is up on the stage. Group 2, group 3, you have to send somebody, thank you. Group 4, yeah? Are you clear what we're doing? That person is presenting the findings of your group, yes? Great. So please come up on the stage, yeah. So take a seat.
I'm supposed to take that. Can you give me that number?
Okay, so we're going to keep this segment to about 5-10 minutes. Then we have the announcement of the election results, where I'm going to win. And then, whatever, because I've fixed it now. And then we will end with a fantastic performance by a very talented young group of men over there. And so we'll be out of here hopefully in about 20 minutes. So you can tell all your fans that are waiting for you. Oh no, I'm the one who's got fans. The problem is I can't get out of my role now. This is the problem. I've gone into my role and I can't get out of it. Where are my shades? Shades, shades. So, who would like to... Shh! Silence! Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Much I don't like the... anyway. So, who would like to present first?